Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagan Raghunatam Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratvije Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Govinda, Govinda, good to see each of you. And Leela Moy Prabhu flying to Thailand on Sunday or Monday?
Dhanavad Gurudev. Monday.
Monday, okay, so we'll be together safe and secure on Sunday also. I was just wondering about that. You're flying on Monday. All right. So to the devotees here on Zoom, here on Facebook, and in the recorded version, to you all, humble obeisances, our greetings. This is back to basics. And this is me, Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan, at your service. And on Monday, in the Zoom, we had an interesting title, and that was guidebook to Krishna consciousness. Sevarupa?
I'm also trying to remember something like practical guidelines to Krishna consciousness. I'll double check. I will double check it.
Oh yeah, I can find it. Okay, yes, you're the expert finder.
No.
Anyway, a handbook to Krishna consciousness, something like this. Anyway, it's interesting because we do have the Save a Life handbook, and we do have the style guide, Chaitanya Saraswati style guide, which really is for the people who are publishing, who are writing things. We should have some consistency on the way we do so. That's the style guide, but the Save a Life, there is one small booklet. That booklet has got guidelines in, but actually the guidebook to Krishna consciousness, I've been reflecting on that how can we make a guidebook that everybody gets this little book, and then they'll see it's so simple, it's so easy, this is all we have to do, my life will be perfect. And I thought, actually, this is back to basics, because back to basics is not complicated. The basics of Bhakti, it is not complicated. And not only the basics is not complicated, the advanced Bhakti is not complicated, in the sense that we do the right thing, and it's not our pushing in the upward direction. By doing the right thing, then it is the invitation of grace from the upper direction. And when that grace comes, if that grace comes, but we can say when that grace comes, because the upper land is gracious. Just we are hesitant, we are suspicious, we are wanting to hold on to those things which we've worked so hard for to get in our lifetime. And we're feeling this possessiveness of this world, so we are feeling the I and mine, very difficult to give up. So not only is the basis of devotion, the basics of devotion, quite straightforward, but the whole journey is quite straightforward if we keep a simple mind, keep our hearts simple. And so I was reflecting on that, because I was thinking, yes, handbook of Krishna consciousness. Was that the title, Sevarupa? Or you didn't find
it's the I just put it in the chat. It's the Practitioner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness.
Oh, yeah, okay, the Practitioner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness. There we are. Hare Krishna. Anyway, I was thinking about that. Well, before the program, but actually a little bit continuously afterwards. I was thinking along the lines of the handbook of Krishna consciousness, but the practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness. Somebody who's practicing. And really, on the devotional side of the do's, that's always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Always want to serve and never refuse service. Like just when service comes, an opportunity comes, we see I should do this for the Lord, not for me. We do it. And to associate in that service way with the devotees, with those who've got devotion. And on the negatives, I mean, on the don't do side, don't have any bad thoughts about anybody. We just have to know that we are in the company that we deserve. So if there's any bad people around us, that's the company I deserve. But we shouldn't see the badness. We should only search for the goodness everywhere. Srila Guru Maharaj gave an example of Queen Elizabeth, and Maheshwari is nodding, maybe she's heard this example. I'm not sure it's published in a book anywhere, but not Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, did I say Elizabeth? Queen Victoria. And at that time, there was some man, I don't remember the detail, but he'd done wrong. And so he'd done wrong, and somehow or another he'd got some pardon. He got some pardon from the government, and so anyway, so he's out in the public, but told, okay, don't do wrong again. He did wrong again, and got brought, and it must have been quite a serious wrong, because how will Queen Victoria be involved in the punishment or otherwise of a person? So he must have done something quite wrong again. Anyway, then somehow he got some excuse, okay, minimum punishment now, don't do it again. And then again he did wrong. And this was somehow in Queen Victoria's, it came to her attention about this. And so Queen Victoria has this man who's been doing wrong, did wrong once and excuse, twice excuse, and the British government was saying he's got to be condemned, whatever it is, for so long in jail, whatever it may be. And Queen Victoria is saying to the persons who are like pushing so much for that, no, he must be severely punished. But can you find any good quality in this person? And they're trying to think. And then and what about his family and his family life? What kind of a husband and father is he? And then they came up with, actually, he's a good husband and he's a good father, but his behavior with others is terrible. Okay, Queen Victoria, but his behavior at home, he's a good husband and father. Then that is some sign of goodness in this person. Then for that, you let him go, let him be a good husband and good father. And by the way, don't do this again. I mean, it wasn't condoning what he'd done, but it was the mercy is above justice principle that Srila Guru Maharaj was showing with some incident that took place in the time of Queen Victoria. Anyhow, our handbook or practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness really can be fairly simple. And the difficulty only is our lightness in this world. We are lagu. Guru is heavy. You've all read this in Sri Guru and His Grace. Guru means heavy. But we are all lagu. Lagu means light. We are influenced in one way, we are told something about somebody, and then we get caught up, oh, that person's a very bad person. And then we hear something from somebody else about who has just been telling us he's a very bad person. They're telling us how he's a very bad person. And then we get caught up in all these likes and dislikes of others and the relativity of the physical side, the external side of this world. And then before we know where we are, if not we are saying, but we are thinking some bad things about others. And so we must avoid that and try to see the good in others, and while keeping aloof from all the external side, whether it's good, bad, good or bad or anywhere in between, we must try to keep in the favorable view of the Vaishnavas. And I know we shouldn't always stay in the consciousness of where we began, but certainly when I first came to the temple, by reading Srila Prabhupada's one book, and then a second book, the Bhagavad Gita, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, then coming to the temple, first of all, the first time I ever came to the temple, I really had appreciation for every single person in that room, because they're all chanting this Hare and Krishna, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They're worshipping their deity, they're singing. And I was thinking, how many times these people here have chanted Krishna's name? And they all look to me to be glowing. Those days, every resident of the temple had shaved head and shikar and wore their cloth. They didn't come in looking like anything and everything. And they were glowing. So when we came to the temple, like, everyone's a saint, everyone's perfect. Okay, we have to modify that after some time to what degree of a saint. But one devotee also told me, after being in the temple for some time, he said, you're giving respect to everybody, because we were taught to bow down to the devotees the first time you see them in the day. That does get a bit modified along the way. But then one devotee who is, I was serving under the devotee, and this was still in the earlier days, so none of you will know him. So don't start thinking who told him that. But he told me, everyone's not a devotee, you don't have to bow down to everyone just because they look like a devotee. What? And then later in my life, well, even now is later in my life, I remember that. And I thought, well, out of all of those people, maybe somebody was a devotee, because somewhere along the way, we did get grace from the Vaishnavas. We got grace from the devotees. And so in one way, what is there to lose in giving our respect to all of the devotees and giving respect sincerely? They've been doing all of this Krishna consciousness while I've been doing everything in the material world outside with no connection with Krishna consciousness. So they had a head start on me by, well, some millions of names of Krishna, probably. Now you can start doing your mathematics. How many rounds is 1 million names? And if they've been practicing for 5 years, did they chant 1 million names? I'm not sure. But anyhow, we must keep that same kind of respect for all the devotees. And by the way, I also, Srila Guru Maharaj also would stress, no, listen, Srila Gurudev would always stress how Srila Guru Maharaj kept honor for all of his godbrothers, all of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples. Said any touch with Srila Saraswati Thakur, then Srila Guru Maharaj keeping his honor for that devotee, those devotees. And Gurudev said, and many of them, they were doing wrong things. This is not something new. They were doing wrong things, and their behavior, not good, many things. And Guru Maharaj knows, but any touch with Srila Saraswati Thakur, then Srila Guru Maharaj giving honor to them. And Gurudev describing us that, and this is the way to avoid Vaishnava aparad. And we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is giving all honor to those who've got any connection, who are disciples of Ishvara Puri, his godbrothers, who are disciples of, in the line of Madhavendra Puri, disciples of Madhavendra Puri and Ishvara Puri. He's giving honor to all. And this way, showing that etiquette, but it's not only etiquette like politeness of, you can say, physical politeness, like children, they should have honor for their mother and father and their aunts and their uncles. That is the system, the aunts and the uncles and the mothers and the fathers and all, the senior generation, then the children, they give honor to them. But that's in a physical way. But it's similar, there is a parallel with the spiritual side, those who've got that connection. So our practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness would certainly have this caution, and this caution will be helped along very much by Trinadapi Sunichina Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadina Kirtanya Sadaharihi. And all of you know that verse. Hare Krishna. So this world, we do need a practitioner's guide. You see, it's Kali Yuga. I just want to, my chat is hiding. Yeah, the practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness. And then, as Srila Guru Maharaj wanted, as Srila Gurudev wanted, devotees will render service under somebody who they have some regard for and who has some favor to them also, but who they have regard for. In the beginning, we've got our general, everyone is going to give me guidance of use my right hand, not your left hand, put your tilak like this, not like this. I mean, so many things like that. Everyone can give us some guidance when we know nothing. And about, everything, our chanting, our eating, our all sorts of things. But then gradually, quickly as we want to come to surrender, then we'll come and surrender. And Srila Guru Maharaj wanted that surrendered devotees will serve under somebody who they do have some regard for. Or at least they will be rendering service as directed by Srila Guru Maharaj. Like Guru Maharaj may send devotee somewhere, ask devotee, send devotee to assist here or there. It doesn't mean that necessarily giving approval who you are working under is 100% pure devotee, but there must be some guidance for what we do, some coordination in devotional life. Just even in a small business or run a shop or something, shop assistant has to work under guidance of the supervisor, who works under the guidance of the manager, who works under the guidance of the owner. It's not that everybody randomly does whatever they want. So anyway, our practitioner's guide, it seems like a sweet thing to have. But, the unsaid, but everybody knows my answer really. And we say it so many times that people say, oh yes, if you know Madhusudan, then you must know Upadeshamrita. Because Upadeshamrita, it's Rupa Goswami's guide for the practitioners. I mean, really, it is the guide for the practitioners. And it's so short. And even for the guide for the practitioners is the first 9 verses. The last 3 verses are really for those who've practice who are doing the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, yes. So the 10, 11, 12. No. 9, 10, 11. So the first 8 verses are the ones that are actually practitioner for the practitioner. And then, the 9, 10, and 11 are showing us, the wonder of the pure world, the wonder of the world, the upper world, very high. Hare Krishna. So happy to have each of you with us. And I only have one internet connection today. And I don't know if I can see the Facebook without making a mess of the Zoom, but we are on Facebook, and so the devotees on Facebook and the devotees here on Zoom together, and on the recorded version, happy to have you all with us. Does anybody have a suggestion for including in the Practitioner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness? I've shared my, initial feeling and how I was guided at the beginning, which was actually one book. I only read Bhagavad Gita after meeting the devotees because I went to the temple and then bought a Bhagavad Gita. But remember that first temple was 5,000 kilometers away from where I was. So it took me a little while to get to the first temple, which gave me some time to read the first book. And that 5,000 kilometers wasn't by aeroplane, by the way. that was by land and sea and all sorts of things. Anyway, so I shared a little bit of, oh yes, we came to Krishna consciousness. And I can then say, like, what mood did we come to the temple with? So the one handbook I had was the Science of Self-Realization. And from that one book, then really got appreciation for the devotees, appreciation for the Lord, and appreciation for the holy name, appreciation for the essential points, you can say, from that one book. And for my birthday, I was given, one of the gifts I was given on my birthday this year, my birthday, you see, was the Science of Self-Realization. So devotees, they say, oh, hear about this book. And it's right here on the little altar, little altar. Oh, you can't see my pointer. I'm just pointing to it, but it is there. Oh, yes, you can see it. I don't know how clear it is. It's actually facing us, just here on the little altar. And I have to admit, I haven't opened the pages. We've been doing other things. I should read it. I have read it again in the meantime. I think, in relatively recent years, probably 3 times. And one time, which I'm saying is relatively recent, it was probably 2001 or something, which I was thinking is recent. Anything in the 21st century is pretty recent. And anyhow, I was in Calcutta. I went for one day from Navadip to Calcutta to do some duty in Calcutta. It was common because there are so many things you can't do in Navadip, but you can do in Calcutta, and by the way of necessity for the temple. So often we had to go to Calcutta and would go in the day, do the necessary, and then come back in the evening. And anyhow, I finished my duty in Calcutta and came back to the railway station, Howrah railway station, the busiest railway station in the world, by the way, and according to the Guinness Book of Records. And it is a very lively place, interesting place to watch the world and chant your japa. Okay. And anyhow, there I was feeling, and then I had time to spare, but I'm all alone in this crazy railway station. And then I actually, I don't usually feel lonely at all, but I felt in need of association. I mean, put it that way. I just, where are the devotees? I'm here alone in this crazy station. Actually, it's a wonderful station. The Ganges flows right outside the door. It's got many auspicious signs, including a giant sign. I don't know if it's still there, but it says, "Cleanliness is next to godliness." Hare Krishna. I have no other purport for the location of the sign and its message. But there is a famous bookshop called Wheelers, W-H, Wheelers, in India maybe, but in Bengal, in Calcutta. We see it in different places. And it's there in the Calcutta railway station. And I was just looking at the books, and I have all these books by others. And then there's the Science of Self-Realization. And it was 35 rupees, I remember. I thought, oh, 35 rupees, do I spend this money? Because it's all Gurudev's money. But then I thought, yes, 35 rupees. I'll buy this, I'll get this book. And it was my very good friend. I took the book, and I know the quiet place to hide, not hide, but to get not exactly peace and quiet, but be a little bit aloof from the busyness of Howrah railway station. And if any of you want to know where it is, it's outside the second class waiting room upstairs, and beside where it says inquiries. You go upstairs. And before we had an ashram in Calcutta, by the way, that was where we used to stay. That's where I used to stay. Just lay the chadar on the ground, sleep there at night. They've got the showers there, shower up, put on tilak, chant japa, everything. And that was our place. So even now, it was that you could still go there. You couldn't go inside officially, but you could be on the veranda outside, which is all completely covered over. And so I sat up there and read that Science of Self-Realization. So I don't have any shares in ISKCON. However, I can recommend that book still. And, we have to read it for time, place, and circumstance. You can read it while thinking of that movie of Hare Krishna, the movie, because you can see what Srila Prabhupada, who he was talking to, the kind of nature of that time. Yes, Rupanuga Prabhu, you've read Science of Self-Realization, correct?
Oh, that is correct, but I must reread it. It's the same with every book, really. You have to keep reading, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I must reread it too, especially as it's being given to me, sitting there unread on the shelf. And I like to see read books, not R-E-D, but R-E-A-D. I like to see read books on a shelf, not crisp and clean. Hare Krishna. Paramananda Prabhu. The Practitioner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness. Contribution by Paramananda Prabhu.
Dandavad.
Dandavad.
Just remembered one funny story about Shrava and Gurudev. How he went to his house.
Oh,
and
yes.
He's examining his bookshelf. And on a higher level shelf, he noticed one book that we do not really read. It was Madhurya Kadambini. And they said, oh, you have such a high book? And immediately Shrava answered, yes, Gurudev, but you will not find any of my fingerprints on the pages of those. So that is a good sign. Means somebody gave it to him, and out of respect, he put it on the shelf, but he never opened it and read it because Gurudev did not. Actually, he did say specifically not to read it. That's not for us. And I wonder in our station, Was that sign in English? I kind of remember the English part, but I never noticed if there was a Bengali version under it. I think it was only in English.
Yeah.
You know what? They should have put it in Bengali. But now you see how critical is my mind. And Maharaj just taught us about being humble, being tolerant, give respect to everyone. When we join Krishna consciousness, everybody remembers how special it was, how much taste was there. I think everyone can agree with that. Maharaj just described, everybody was a saint. Same thing with me. I saw everyone as a saint. A person who joined literally a week before me was a much senior Vaishnava, and I had to obey his wishes and his instructions. And I happily did so, really. And the mantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, sounded wonderfully. It actually did miracles. The devotees were all wonderful. The prasadam was wonderful. The whole atmosphere was absolutely wonderful. But then something happened. How, I do not know. I did not know at that time. But then we read something about Vaishnava apparat or sadhu ninda. Sadhu apparat, saintly person's apparat. And sadhu can be, there's so many gradations everywhere, but sadhu can also be anyone who just started chanting the holy name. There's a reason why it is mentioned by Rupa Goswami. Krishneti yasi giritah manasadri. He's saying the one who is just started chanting or chanted the holy names have to be worshipped in your mind. Already you have to have a certain set of mind towards that particular person, which is a respectful set of mind. And then what to speak of those who dedicated their lives, years of their lives to service, and while chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and serving under the guidance of the sadhu. Those have to be befriended, respected, and served together. And then the senior Vaishnavas, the Guru section, who are always engaged in the service. And those persons have to be respected and surrendered to and served to, according to Rupa Goswami. But then again, Mahaprabhu, the words of Upadeshamrita, actually the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but conveyed through Srila Rupa Goswami. But he's also saying that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing how should be the behavior of different, according to the different levels of devotees. But one of the most important verses in Upadeshamritam in the early section, I'm really bad with numbers, but let me quickly count. Maharaj, you're really good with that. Maybe sixth verse, maybe. Drishtva svabhava janitara vapushasya dosha na prakritasya iha bhakta janasya pasya. So he's saying that no matter if you notice something that is maybe from external point of view wrong with the devotee, or his externally wrong misbehavior or defects in his mood, his body, and everything else, you should not consider it. And he says, na prakritasya iha bhakta janasya pasya. He's saying, Rupa Goswami is saying that it is not out of this world. That devotion actually cancels all of that. And then he gives example, Ganga Basamna Palabudbuddha Pena Pankar. In the Ganges, sometimes we observe some bubbles, some foam, some debris. Because Ganges is a very large river, and it's always muddy, never clean. And maybe in the Himalayas it is clean, but in Mayapur, for example, Navadvip, Mayapur, you see it's very muddy. And so many things are floating, including dead bodies. And you may think, oh, how can I enter the Ganges? But he's giving that example, even though the Ganges sometimes carries this mud, foam, debris. still remains a divine, of divine nature. And that's how we should see. So by some reason I'm hearing Maharaj, I think that I can hear myself. But anyhow, so these are very important points. And then the end of that verse, Rupa Goswami is saying, there is a certain nature to everything, like the river. The river could be divine, but it appears with a particular set of qualities in this particular world for our vision at this moment. So it may look mundane, but it is not. And hence there is always a word, aprakrita, used in connection with something that is very accessible to us, very human-like, but yet it have nothing to do with this world. Absolutely divine, so we're using that word aprakrita. It seems to be mundane, but it is not. So in a similar way, our bodies, our human bodies may have some disqualifications, some faults and imperfections, but that have to be overlooked. And we have to always look in the heart of such a person, the inspired heart of the Vaishnava. That's where the wealth is, and that's where the reality resides. That's where Krishna resides. And where Krishna is, there is a reality. Reality is beautiful, the divine reality, all the realities there is. So it's absolutely fundamental for everyone to remember that. So Maharaj may or may not have mentioned, this is something that we always talk about, avoiding the aparat, avoiding the, even thinking in mind something not so good about the Vaishnavas. But this is actually fundamental. Without that, we will not go anywhere. We will be like the boat. We'll be rowing the boat, but we would forget to untie the rope, tying the boat to the shore. And no matter how hard we row, the boat will not go anywhere. So we have to remember that. But then also being practical in many ways. And there are so many practical advices, like Saraswati Thakur is giving a practical advice of Ishtagoshtis. And Ishtagoshtis is not to discuss so managerial engagements of the ashram or temple. This is a secondary, even less than secondary. The most important is the Vaishnavas gathering together, and they're saying words of appreciation for the service of each other. And then Saraswati Thakur would engage those who have some disagreement with each other or some dislike between each other. And he would ask them to praise, to try to see some good qualities in each other and praise those qualities in front of each other. And that would harmonize so many things. And if that wasn't possible, then Saraswati Thakur would say, then you keep some distance for a while. But not a distance and still think bad about that person. You give some respect from that distance. It is your fault that you cannot see the divine in the heart of that personality. So you keep some distance for your own sake and offer your obeisances from that distance. And when things are becoming more clear to you, more harmonized, then you can again come close to that particular personality. Anyway, there are so many considerations. It's not black and white as usual. And yes, I have to join the reading club for the science of sage.
And by the way, Sevarupa, she's famous for finding relevant things, where she found a photograph of the Wheeler bookshop in Howrah railway station. It's in the chat box. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There you are. There's some, I'm transported. We know that exact location, of course. And if you want to know where the sign is, by the way, it does look like the Howrah railway station has been repainted. It looks very clean, nice upstairs. But that big sign is to the left on the wall, which is 90 degrees to the wall that you're looking at, and it's high. It's a big sign all the way across. And yes, I think only in English, But the important signs usually, often are only in English, like danger, 33,000 volts. They put it in English and not Bengali. Think, why? Okay, the Bengalis, they're smarter. They don't need a sign. I know. Hare Krishna. Oh yes, now I got a little thrown off in my thought. Okay, but yes, I still have this practitioner's guide. No, practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness. This title rolling around in my mind, because really Krishna consciousness should be simple. And if our back to basics program, if it at least can remind us that Krishna consciousness is simple, it is straightforward. We just have to do the right things and not just talk about doing the right things. And that guidebook, that practitioner's handbook is already there in Upadeshamritam. That handbook is already there in the Shikshastakam prayers, the glories of the holy name. And in that handbook, essentially, it's always keep in association with the devotees and their message and engage in service happily and stay away from danger. Be a civilized human being and chant Hare Krishna with respect and honor. Hare Krishna. Would anyone like to make a practical contribution? The practitioner's practical guide, practitioner's guide. All of you came to Krishna consciousness from somewhere. Nobody here is born in a devotee family. Correct? No? Nobody here, at least on the Zoom. I did turn on Facebook, but it interrupted my Zoom. The connection's not strong enough. But Madhava Prabhu, good to see you there. And others are there on Facebook who I'm unable to see. But you're all very welcome. Maheshwari Devirasi, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There is an echo. Huh. Okay, that's better. Yes, okay. So I just put in the chat that the guidebook should have the 10 offenses to the holy name, because I'm always like going, now, what book were those in again? I mean, a guidebook would be really nice for, those of us that are newer, that, we could refer these basic things to. But I must tell you, tomorrow I leave for SoCal for 2 weeks. So I will think about this guidebook and make an outline.
Okay, well I'm not saying we're going to print one, but here we are, we're thinking about these things. And I mean, really, the guidebook comes down to good association and following the guidance of Upadeshamritam and Mahaprabhu's Shikshastakam. And that will bring us to the good association and follow the Vaishnavas. And then discriminate, follow the Vaishnavas who are on the same line, more advanced than us, and are our genuine friends, our well-wishers. But yes, if you make an outline, everyone can put their thoughts. And the 10 offenses, there is something which, we can't say struck me or something, but going through recently, because we do go through those 10 offenses and sing that Harinama Maha Mantra Sava Mantra Sa song, or Kirtan, which is composed by Srila Gurudev, about the 10 offenses. But when we go through that, Gurudev is telling us the glories of the name and Krishna, and at the same time, don't think in this other way. In other words, he's saying, these are the glories. Don't think of any other way. The devotees are wonderful. Don't think any other way. The scriptures are wonderful. Don't think any other way. The glories of the holy name are wonderful. Don't think any other way. Sin, the name, it can clear all sin. But obviously, don't use it don't exploit the name. Try to exploit the name. We cannot exploit the name, by the way. We may think we can try to do it, but The name is not there to be exploited. We are to serve the name. Anyway, each one of them, actually Gurudev is giving glorification of the holy name while pointing out, what are the offenses which we are to learn. So they are there. And there is a simplified version, to help us understand, just with the key words. And key words are useful for learning things, learning a list. And the key words for remembering the 10 offenses are Vaishnava, Vishnu, Guru, Shastra, exaggeration, mundane, sin, piety, faithless, and undue material attachment. And then when you think of each one, then necessary not just to think, oh, I know those words, but to connect it to the offense. And then some of you know that in the songbook, if I just bring up, if I bring up the songbook, if I can bring up the songbook, then you know, just one second, that at least the last verse of the songbook, sorry, not the last verse of the songbook, the last verse of the Harinama Mahamantra verse, Kirtan, it's saying about the wonder of chanting the holy name. Let me just come to it quickly. Harinama Mahamantra Sava Mantra Sa, so each one. Then the last verse, it is E Dasha Aparada Koryava Jana Jaina Jana Kore Harinama Sankirtana Apurva Shri Krishna Prema Labhyatare Hoy Nama Prabhu Tara Hride Nitya Vilashai. And the translation given in poetic form but very beautifully is casting off these 10 offenses, leaving no exception, those pure souls who chant the name in holy congregation, the miracle of love for Krishna they will surely savor. The name divine himself will shine within their hearts forever. And actually, some of you know that if you do chant this kirtan, you can chant it to Hari. Oh, well, you won't be able to hear it if I try to sing, will you? Oh, I see. Maybe you will. Let me just see now again. So, you can sing it this Harinama Mahamantra Sava Mantra Sara Jadira Karuna Male Jagate Prachar, to this tune. And the translation of that last verse, anyway, you can also sing to the same tune. Casting off these 10 offenses, leaving no exception, those pure souls who chant the name in holy congregation, the miracle of love for Krishna they will surely savor. The name divine himself will shine within their hearts forever. Anyway, that's all my singing I'm going to do for today. And now I think why you were all getting an echo. I was the cause. Okay, I don't think you'll get an echo now. Ah, yes, so that's in the chat box too. But it's so beautiful that when we don't make offense and can appreciate the name and all these aspects about the name, then those pure souls who chant the name in holy congregation, this is the Kirtan, Sankirtan, the miracle of love for Krishna, they will surely savor. It is a miracle, absolute miracle. The name divine himself will shine within their hearts forever. So we just need to be the practitioners and actually book after book, lecture after lecture, mean, informal discourse after informal discourse. All of these are coming to help us to change our own consciousness, change our mind from wrong thinking to right thinking. One of our sweet devotees made a composition also, wrote a song in poetry form, and now I thankfully can't remember it all, but let me see if I can remember a little bit. Anyway, something, when I was like singing that translation just now, this verse, this was also in English, and it was also singable to a similar tune, and it was something along the lines of eating, sleeping, thinking, wrong. In other words, it's chanting about all the wrong things in our own consciousness, which we have to change. And it was quite an entertaining ditty written by one of our then brahmacharis who became a sannyasi. But it was quite a funny composition. But all the wrong things we're doing. Hare Krishna. Yes, who has a contribution? Okay, who has a contribution for the practitioner's guide for Krishna consciousness? Some things which, like, oh, I wish somebody had told me that earlier. I mean, surely we all have some things in our life like that. Well, I didn't know. I wish somebody had told me that earlier. And some things, they may seem almost childish. Like the computer, by the way. I wish somebody had told me earlier about the mouse and how you don't have to tape a A4 sheet of, or a letter size, if you're in America, sheet of paper on the table, and then you put the mouse, and then the screen is following that. So you move it all over that A4 sheet. That's how I was shown in the beginning. And then after several months of using a computer, I saw somebody else use a computer, because that the only computer I had seen used was the one that was given to us in the temple. And then I saw them like moving the mouse just in little movements. And I thought, they're doing it wrong. And then you find that, okay, no, I can move the mouse in little movements and it'll move over the page. I mean, some things like that. I remember, and then when I realized about that, I thought, oh my goodness. And I wish I'd seen somebody show me that earlier, instead of I had on the desk taped a piece of paper. And I was shown, oh, it's like a piece of paper. So this is how you move the mouse. Anyway, I mean, that's a mundane example of things where we shouldn't be shy, that we did not have computer technology in our DNA when we are born. Now, that may not apply to the latest generation. So also, we didn't have our Krishna consciousness, ABC, in our DNA that we were aware of when we are born. So lots of things need to be taught to us. So what are anything that anyone comes up with? I wish I was told that earlier. Yes, Ganga Leela Devidasi. What do you wish you'd been told earlier on?
Hare Krishna, Dandavats Maharaj. I think what I've been really needing and wanting to hear in the beginning, and once I heard it, I was like, oh, I wish people would have told me sooner that showing up here, for example, that's a seva when I'm chanting, that's a seva when I'm reading from the scripture, because I was thinking like, oh, but the guru giving me a seva, like some, like travel through India and do all kinds of things. So I thought that I find it would be difficult to attain a good seva. But then I learned like, oh, so I could just self-assign all day long some seva and listen to kirtan and I didn't know that was seva for the longest time, that just listening to a lecture from Prabhupada or the YouTubes, etc., that's all seva. I was so happy, so thrilled when I found out. And another thing is to be very gentle, like it's okay. And people running around going, I didn't finish my rounds, and then you build up this whole anti, and I didn't, and I'm not good enough, and that it is okay. You start tomorrow again. That gentleness, that very forgiving, very gentleness, like you're not lost if you didn't do the paka thing. You know, in the very beginning, we think it's so, that jump is too large, and then it's so important to hear people going like, no, a tiny thing is, or you chanted one round, that's amazing. Yeah, to turn it all around and go like, oh, this is just wonderful what you're doing. And I think that's what I heard also Paramananda state earlier, how that it is incredible. Like the moment somebody from total neophyte, from suddenly, you know, the veil of ignorance drops, and they start to practice, and they are worshipable in a way. So I think that's my contribution, and that's not bullet points, I know.
I'm not sure what bullet point. Oh, I know bullet points. Okay.
People make everything very, very short and clear and presentable.
And also that is very sweet, because we do forget a little bit, because maybe our the association we keep maybe is not like that at the moment, but it means we do forget how actually, by being very rigid with well, we don't want to say always the chanting so much, but yes, we see it. By being very rigid, it can also make a little hard-hearted. And devotees don't have time for another person or another thing or a duty or giving attention to visitors who come. I'm chanting my rounds, don't disturb me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I got to finish my rounds. And on Ekadashis, we used to chant 25 rounds on Ekadashi. And I don't know why 25 and not 24, but anyhow, somehow or another, in the temple we were in, they chanted 25 rounds. But it did kind of give a little bit of hard-heartedness in relations between devotees. And we must be careful not to go too much the other way and then absolutely neglect our chanting, because actually seva, and the point that you're making, seva is what will please Gurudev, what will please Guru Maharaj, what will please Srila Prabhupada. I mean, we must have some idea of their expectation of us, what is their nature, by reading, by seeing the YouTube, by hearing, by mixing with the devotees who have had their association and who've been serving them. We must, I hope, have some idea of their nature. And so they expect we do read the books. They expect that we will see, when we've got the opportunity, the recordings, and gradually, pick up all the tips as we go along. But what pleases them? So they are expecting, they are happy, we know, when we can read every day. Doesn't mean we sit reading all day long. We sit watching all day long. Service was the main thing, but service, when we're in a temple, it's much more defined. And when we're at home, we have to maintain a home. And okay, I know sometimes in the West, they can take the money from the government and don't have to do anything in one sense, but then use that time for engaging in something. Ask the temples, what can I do from a distance, or whatever it may be. I mean, everyone's in a different situation. Most people have to work for a living, but those who don't, then that's Krishna's grace also, so that they can then utilize their time to do something, try to contribute for the success of the ashrams. And preaching, however, we can do some people reaching. It is very good. And everybody can reach out to people, not just or sannyasis, brahmacharis, or grihastas, or everything like that. We can help others with whatever we know. If we only know chant Hare Krishna. It was very good for me. I don't know why. But chant Hare Krishna, it's good for you. Then we can tell our friends, oh, there is a miracle mantra. Chant Hare Krishna and your life will become sublime. As Sridhar Maharaj said, we know. And about gentleness and everything too. The prime cause of everything is beauty and love. Don't forget, this Guru Maharaj told us a week ago, and somehow this time, tiny drop of that may be sunk in, of the prime cause of everything. The prime cause of everything is beauty and love. More than power. Amazing. But we think, oh no, it's the power has made. A big bang made this universe. Oh, very big bang. But beauty and love is more than a big bang. And things do go bang sometimes. Maybe they don't go bang and make life. Hare Krishna. And Guru Maharaj points out, the Lord is everywhere. So we should treat everything gently. He's in the atom. Consciousness is everywhere. You break the atom, the smallest, tiniest thing you can find, you split it in two, and what happens? You get a big bang. How much energy is there? And then whatever has been split, when you split that, whatever is there, Krishna is still there. Nothing is separate from him. These are mind-blowing to a tiny particle, and we are tiny particles. Tiny particles. So consciousness is everywhere. Paramatma. And these things, I mean, they actually, you see, this is, we're going to make a practitioner's guide. Some of the things, practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness is don't think too much, because then we can't get our head around some things, and then we then kind of think, oh, it's impossible. But when Guru Maharaj says, and I mean, if we try, we can find where Guru Maharaj has said these kind of things. When it's being told by those who know, we have to accept. We shouldn't think too much. We should just accept. And there's some parable, some story, and I haven't heard it or read it for a long, long time, but something about faith. And then one very holy person, there was a very holy person, and there was a very simple-hearted person, very simple-hearted. And the holy man is proud of being a holy man, and the simple-hearted person, he was just simple-hearted, but he was faithful. And then they met somebody, and they said, oh, today I was taken to the Lord's world. I was taken up into the Lord's world. And then I saw what is there. Then I came back. And you know what I saw? I saw that the Lord was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly? And oh no, was, oh my goodness, or maybe threading the Himalayas mountains through the eye of a needle, and was binding an elephant with a spider's web. And then the sadhu was saying, oh, that's impossible. That's impossible. How can the Lord, how can he make a garland out of the peaks of mountains? How can he thread those through? Somehow or another, the threading the needle through them. Anyhow, I don't remember it perfectly, but like it was very impossible, normally speaking. And how can you bind an elephant with a cobweb, with the web of a spider? That was the sadhu's response. But the simple-hearted, faithful person, oh, so amazing. The Lord, he's threading the Himalayas through the eye of a needle, and he's binding an elephant with the web of a spider. I mean, I've probably made a terrible mess of the parable, but the principle is there, that, you know, those who are faithful, oh, yes, wonderful, wonderful Lord. And those who still are thinking a lot, then they say, is it really true? How is it possible? And all those things. So we need to be faithful. We need to be in the faithful category. But the faithful category must be under the shelter of the truthful side, so we don't get cheated. Our faith won't be cheated. But Krishna won't cheat us if we are sincere. This faith we also have, because Guru Maharaj has informed us, Gurudev has informed us, the sincere are safe. So I think our handbook, our theoretical practitioner's guide to Krishna consciousness would have to include a little bit about simple, honest faith. Find honestly our shelter, and there under that shelter, go on happily, and not to analyze too much. Just accept happily. Hare Krishna. Then we don't have to get all disturbed about, you know, this mission, what that mission, or these very famous, you know, Babajis and yogis in India, they're teaching wrong things. People will go to them who Krishna sends to them, and people will come to Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, who Krishna sends to them too. So let us be in the faithful category, under the beautiful shelter of Gurudev, Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, and another chat in the chat box. Oh, Dasa Aparada, yes. And Sevarupa. This is, what is this?
Dhanavad Maharaj and dear devotees. It's from the search on religion of the heart, and then I found this, what you're talking about.
Okay, this is okay. Thank you very much. So please, can you read it for us?
Okay, John. So there were two searches that came out. So the first one is this one here from Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, Religion of the Heart, Krishna's Sweet Pastimes. So every evening in Puri, Mahaprabhu would talk with Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai in the Gambhira. One evening, they were discussing the poetry of Chandra Das. Chandra Das said in one poem, whoever can conceive a garland can be made from the peaks of mountains with a tiny thread, or an elephant can be bound with a spider's web, can understand Krishna's pastimes. You must believe you can bind an elephant with a spider's web before you can understand Krishna's pastimes. So, Jagurudev, it wasn't the whole parable that you were giving, but there was also another piece from Affectionate Guidance, which also speaks of this, about the rope out of a spider's web and binding an elephant, but not the exact parable, but from there, yes. Oh, your microphone is not on.
It's a parable.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
parable. And a parable means a story. It doesn't mean it really happened. All right. So, dear devotees, time, as it does, has run by imperceptibly. So one of those expressions of Guru Maharaj or the scripture, the imperceptible speed of time that we sort of read a long time ago, but it stays with us because really it is so. And recently, read somewhere, also read or heard, because we do read in here, that ages and ages are being spent, so much time is going without us noticing it, in the pursuit of enjoyment. And so we have to leave this idea that I am the enjoyer sooner or later, and we should try to leave it sooner rather than later, because that time is wasted time for our journey, our Krishna conscious journey. And this life is very valuable, that we read practically every day, or maybe on average every 3 days, I suppose, if you want to make a realistic average, or even maybe every day when we sing the songs, and it's in the kirtans, it's in the teachings of all of our masters. This human life is so valuable, especially at this time. We must try to use it so carefully for its proper purpose. Hare Krishna. So let us be gentle with each other. Let us chant the holy names, and let us continue our devotional life, knowing we do have good friends in this world by the grace of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Gurudev Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj Srila Bhakti Rokho Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. And Jai Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga ki Jai. And Sri Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. All the assembled devotees ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. And the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki Jai. And Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Srila Bhaktivinoda Madhusudana Maharaj ki Jai.
Govinda Govinda and Leelamoy, appreciation for looking after us all on the Zoom. London a little earlier than here. London begins at 3 a.m. But one more 3 a.m. and then you're going to be in Thailand. Then you're going to be in a very suitable time with the crickets and the birds, and tropical sounds. Dandavat, dear devotees, looking forward to being with you again very soon. In the meantime, practice the practical guidance we've received in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.